This is the Pat Nat Cast, a podcast hosted by Pat Nat Games. We're trying it out. We're seeing where it goes. Today I'm joined by Thom Peeler. He's an underground short film director as well as video analysis essayist for video games and other pieces of media over on his channel, Sycamore Street Studios. Thom, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, buddy. Yeah, I am a VAA. I am a VA. That is my abbreviation,
Nice.
I guess. I'm a VA.
That rolls off the tongue so nicely.
Yeah, when you are meeting people and explaining what you like to do, just saying sounds at them completely puts them at ease.
What is discourse other than sounds being put at other people? I think it's a great way to describe dialogue.
We do live in a world of noise, so yeah,
yes,
exactly.
True. For those who don't know, I've known Thom a very long time. I was actually thinking about recently, we might either have surpassed 10 years of knowing each other. I don't know where my anniversary gifts is at, but basically the first time we actually met was also on a podcast. So Thom and I have not only known each other for a while, we've done podcasts together for a long time. And this is, you know, what better perfect first guest than Thom Peeler, longtime friend of the show. Thom, I've got some questions for you. Just some simple icebreaker questions. Obviously we don't need them, but the crowd out there might need them just to get to know you and I a little bit better. So I'll ask you first, and then of course I'll be answering myself. First question is just
this way strangers can more easily break my security password questions. So please, yes.
Yes, exactly. The question number one is Thom, just what is your relationship with Nintendo right now? And I'm asking not just for the sake of the viewers, because even just in our own discourse, we have not talked about modern Nintendo stuff. We're used to talking about Nintendo Wii games, which you guys can listen to on Bracket Breakdown on the Pat Nat Games YouTube channel, because we were both part of that. And we haven't actually talked that much about current Nintendo stuff. So I would love to know what your temperature check is, just where you're currently standing with the new generation, how you feel about the games moving forward. What's your rundown on that?
Nintendo is like a friend that I sporadically text, but I haven't really hung out with in a while. That's my current relationship with them. I don't have a Switch 2 yet, and I am like kicking myself because I am a little fearful that the price is going to go up. But I do want one. I do want to get into the bonanza that I'm missing out on. But I check in with them every once in a while, and I hear some stuff about what they're doing. And I'm a little, I guess I'm still supportive and excited to see what they're doing. But, you know, you can't not acknowledge that there's some shenanigans, but there's shenanigans in the entire gaming industry, which we don't have to fully get into.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's been the tough part to digest for Nintendo fans, is that now it seems that Nintendo's catching up to the rest of the industry with a lot of these practices that for them has been mainstream, right? It has kind of sucked, though, for people who have been specifically Nintendo fans. Like, I've never really owned a PlayStation console myself, and I'm not used to a lot of these practices, right? So when I hear, like, Nintendo Switch 2 editions of games costing more money than the games when they originally released, apparently that was just a thing with PlayStation that I didn't even know about. So stuff like that is just, it's tough to digest, I think, for a lot of Nintendo fans. I think I'm on a similar plane as you. I am also friends with Nintendo, but I do text them probably a little bit more frequently than you do. Not as a flex, as an admission of guilt. And I do own a Nintendo Switch 2, but part of that was because I went down an eBay listing rabbit hole until I found a good deal. And do I regret buying it this early? You know, it's still tough to say, but I have started the renting game train. I was able to try Mario Kart World without actually having to buy it, which was nice. And
I meant to ask you about that because I saw it on your Discord, the official Pat Nat Discord. I saw you said you rent it. Is that? I assume, is that from GameFly? Is GameFly still around?
You know me too well. Yes, I am back on the GameFly train. I wish it was the sponsor. It's not. I've been on and off GameFly since 2019. It's just a great way for me to experience new games without having to pay for them, especially Nintendo games. That's the real tough part.
Fair. That's cool. I am pleasantly surprised to hear that GameFly still does its thing. I haven't subscribed to it in probably since the early 2010s, but cool. I'm glad people have that option. I should probably do that because I want to try some things. And as you said, $70 can be a lot, but if I can try Clair Obscura and not pay $70, maybe I should be doing that.
Yeah, I find it helpful. I also like to get footage of things, which maybe is not the best reason to rent games, but it is a reason for me. So Gamefly, if you want to do anything, reach out and we will do something. But yeah, I'm same boat with Nintendo. Really, I just it's just real tough because Nintendo makes good games. A lot of this would be a lot easier if Nintendo just made bad games, because then I could just be like, well, screw Nintendo, I'm not going to be involved with it. But the fact is, they just Donkey Kong Bonanza. That was a pretty dang good game, like it's just hard to argue with that. I would say similar. The next icebreaker question, because we have two of these. This might be tough off the top of your head, but can you tell me a game that you thoroughly enjoy, yet you negatively criticize, or a game that you do not enjoy at all, but you positively criticize?
This is a good question. I am on the spot, so be patient with me. I may have to just briefly pull up my backlogged account at backlog.com.
For sure.
That's another great thing that you turned me on to.
Another thing that I should sponsor. No, Tom, you got that in reverse. You turned me on to Backlogged. I learned it from you.
No, Pat, I am pretty positive I did not.
After the podcast, I'll pull up receipts. I'll prove my correctness here. If you want, I can kind of go first too.
Yeah, please go. Yeah, give me a moment, because this is a good question. Please, what do you got?
Sure. So I guess this is more of a genre thing, but I can narrow it down to a specific game. But stealth shooters are one of those things that you see critically acclaimed all over the place, and I could recognize both the opportunities for more cinematic experiences through stealth shooters, as well as the level of real-time strategy that goes on in your head through them. I also hate them like with a passion, not to the point where I would negatively, release a negative review on them, because I understand I'm just not the demographic. But the big one just being any of the Metal Gear games. I've tried so many times to jump into the Metal Gear series, because all I hear is about how much people love them. I am just not patient enough to actually play a stealth shooter, though. And it's not just Metal Gear, it's also Splinter Cell games, even heck, Resident Evil games. I know that's not exactly stealth shooter, that's more tank shooter, but those kind of games where you have to play very patiently within the actual play style itself, not just in terms of strategizing, but literally like moving slow. That stuff just drives me crazy. And I've tried so many times. So I don't fault the games for it. I understand completely that it's just not my genre. So I love to appreciate especially the scope and cinematic feel of Metal Gear from afar, without ever actually having to touch it. So
it's not your tempo, and I get that. Yeah, no, that's completely fair. I think I have my answer, and it's possibly gonna get me yelled at by our good mutual friend Josh Yeager and maybe some other people. A game that I enjoy but have some criticisms for is Persona 5, specifically Persona 5 Royal. Now, in a manner where you are not entirely friendly with stealth shooters, I can be not entirely good at like finishing very long, very deep RPGs. I get invested in the story, and then I will not grind. I will barrel ass my way through a JRPG, and then eventually get to a point of no return where it's like, you needed to do more work here, and you literally cannot beat this encounter. And
That's so real.
And I'll walk away, and I'm just like, okay, then fine. I just wanted the story. With Persona 5 specifically, it's that it's a story that I was engaged with that starts kind of, how do I put it? It has good themes and good characters to convey those themes, but sometimes the way that the plot progresses, or the way that story beats happen, you could be scratching your head a little bit. There's themes of bringing justice to those who exploit people, and then there's some like exploitive character jokes at the expense of characters we're meant to like, and it's a little contradictory in a way that is a bummer. And just additionally, it's a game with too much stuff going on, and a lot of it I found to be kind of like pointlessly there. It's it's a game that has so many systems that when I finished it, I didn't experience some of them because I didn't have to. And, when there was a question of, well, are you going to go back in and do New Game Plus and check out the stuff you missed? It's like, no, because I got to like the ending, the pure 100% ending, and I didn't need those. So it feels very like fat that could be trimmed. So to a lot of people, it's a masterpiece. To me, it's a game I really enjoyed and will come back to eventually. But I think it's kind of a 3 out of 5.
Yeah, that's completely fair. I have never touched a Persona game, but a big reason for that is for the same reason. I look at that and I'm like, there's too much going on for my head to process, and that's a tough sell for me to get into a game, especially when you use the word systems. Ooh, you lost me at systems. I can handle one system, maybe 2 systems. You got a bunch of systems. My brain becomes a system, and I it's no longer therapeutic.
Sure.
So
Play 4. Persona 4 Golden is the game I would tell people of that franchise to go into, because it does everything I like about the franchise, but it doesn't have any glut. Like everything that's in there, you can do it and not feel like, oh, like I didn't even touch that mode. So yeah.
Right. Well, that's good to know. Maybe I will check that out sometime.
Final note, both of them also have very good assistance systems for RPG I don't know. RPG noobs like me, I guess is the best word to say.
Gotcha. Okay. No, I would fall under that category as well. In fact, I probably even could have just said JRPGs to answer my question too, where I can appreciate them from afar. But I've passed the point in my life where I can really play most of them, just mostly for the time sink. But very good answers across the board. I'll accommodate both of us. Pat and myself on the back. And,
good job.
That's it for our icebreaker questions. But Thom, of course, the other big question is just what games in general have you been playing lately? Has there been any that has stood out to you, ones that you want to give a shout out, ones that you are particularly frustrated with? Where are you at in the gaming sphere?
The most recent new game that I played that I would definitely tell people to try is a co-op multiplayer game called Peak, where you play some very cartoonishly generated Cub Scouts who get stranded on an island, and you have to climb up the mountain on the island in order to try and, seek help. And the game has honestly a very funny looking style that just draws you in with how silly it looks. And then its kind of physics system and platforming system. It's a first person platformer that really relies on a lot of stamina based surface climbing as you ascend the mountain. And if you're playing with people, you can like help your friends by pulling them up, and you find items that can help. And it's just so fairly challenging, but also very silly. Like if you fall down the mountain and ragdoll on the beach as this goofy looking Cub Scout, like there's been many a dramatic like no's among like my friend group. It's very fun. Simple concept done well. So Peak is good.
It seems like very indulgent multiplayer, which is always a nice thing to have. Like Lethal Company was another example of very indulgent, like
in
simple
that mold,
to
yes.
it, but you find this one small aspect of specific multiplayer fun that just indulges you for hours on end. Things like that it's just great to have those come around. I haven't aligned, the stars have not aligned for my friend group and I to actually jump into that game, but it's on all of our wish lists. One day we're going to take the plunge probably and actually experience it, because it looks fantastic, or like a fantastic time.
If you would like to be Hillary Duff with me and make the climb, let me know. I will absolutely
let you know.
Help you up that mountain. And also just wanted to say, what you talked about Lethal Company.
Mm-hmm.
I never paid much attention to proximity chat in gaming as just like a thing, but Lethal Company and Peak both use it in ways that are really good for their specific thing. Lethal Company using proximity chat for like, fear in a way, even though Lethal Company is very funny, but Peak adds to its comedy, in my opinion, with proximity chat, because of like the way like your friends calling out for you can like catch your attention and stuff. Yeah,
absolutely.
Good use of it.
And another game that used this well, but in the mod, not necessarily in the base game, but it really should have been after you experience the mod, is Among Us. I don't know if you've ever played the Among Us proximity mod, but that's another thing where, again, it doesn't necessarily, it's not just fear that it adds. It's specifically like a mechanic of the game that it adds. It changes how you play the game by having voice chat because you're trying to convince your crewmates while also doing devious things real time, as opposed to just explaining your actions in the lobby. I think proximity chat is this thing that's just gotten bigger in games over the last I don't know 7-10 years. I don't know time frames, but I think more and more games need to have this be the standard, which more and more games are, because you're absolutely right. It changes the game. It adds so many opportunities for new styles of play. We just brought up 3 different examples of styles of play that were all added thanks to proximity chat. So I'm all for the proximity chat train. Is there another game you wanted to mention, or should I talk about the games I've been playing?
I want to hear what you're playing. Yeah, please go,
okay.
go.
So yeah, I did get a Switch 2, and the big thing I got was Donkey Kong Bonanza with it. And
you're so lucky, so lucky.
It's one of those games where I was playing for like an hour or so, and as I was playing, I was just like, okay, so I'm just breaking a lot of stuff. This is gonna get repetitive really quickly. I was like, I am enjoying it right now, but surely this is going to be overindulgent and I'm going to want to put this down. That never happened. I kept playing. We're talking 5 hours in. I still did not feel bored of breaking terrain, which is wild to me. Something that would be seemingly monotonous. It just keeps its stay through the entire experience, to the point where now I've finally beaten the game. And the whole experience, I was like, yeah, I had fun from start to end, which is like, wow, I just had such a good time. I can't describe why it feels so good. It just does feel so good. Because it's just breaking stuff. That is the core gameplay, is you're breaking stuff. Even calling it a platformer feels a little bit disingenuous to the core of the gameplay, because it's not about platforming per se. Like, if you see an area on the map, you're going to get there no matter what. The challenge to get there is usually not even a challenge. It's just a matter of breaking through stuff to actually get there, or sometimes small little puzzles to break up the sections here and there. But challenge is not what Donkey Kong Bonanza does. It is just, you see a destination, be goofy, go monkey mode, and you'll get there. And I just feel like that shouldn't work as well as it does. Like, it shouldn't be as long-standing as it is. But yeah, I had a great time. A lot of people compare it to Odyssey and stuff, and I think their purposes are different, to the point where it feels almost silly to compare them. But we also did a bracket breakdown episode on Lego Star Wars versus Twilight Princess, so who am I to judge about silly comparisons? But yeah, I think they both have a standing. You know, they both do their own things, and one doesn't necessarily need to be better than the other unless you make a show about it. So that's kind of where I stand with it. I had a great time. I'm still playing it. Good. You know, I'm trying to collect more stuff. It's got a decent amount of fanfare, some of which maybe a little bit too on the nose for my liking. But at the very least, we had a very solid launch single player title, close to launch, not exactly launch, but yeah. So it
reminds me of when Melee came out a month after the GameCube launch, and like kind of became the killer app of the GameCube. So it's like, let's just call it a launch title. Who cares? Like, And 3D platformers, we're so back. We're so back. I'm so happy that it's doing as well as it is.
We are so back to a certain style of 3D platformers. There's definitely some older styles of 3D platformers that I still very much miss and feel like we're in a drought of. But at the very least, we've got Astrobot and we've got Donkey Kong Bonanza. And then further back, we have Mario Odyssey. So, and we'll probably get an Odyssey 2 at some point, I just imagine. I don't think this is the end of the modern Mario string of games.
No, not at all. But I actually think at this point, this will probably be something that comes out at like the end of the Switch 2's life cycle. You know, the way that the Switch 1 was bookended by 2 Zelda games, I think Bonanza will be what launches it, and then the Switch 2's swan song will be like Odyssey 2 or something like that, just given development time with the team.
Yeah, I've every direct that comes around, people seem to be talking about like Mario Odyssey 2, and I'm like, I don't think that's coming out for a hot minute. That's coming out. I mean, if you just look at how long it took for Bonanza to come out after Odyssey. Like the games take so long to make now. What's up with that, by the way? Well, why do games take so long to make? I know they're bigger and supposedly better, but why do they take so long? I don't understand. I tried Googling it. I still don't really understand. Like I don't know. It's just strange to me. Like I don't know. I don't have anywhere to go at this point either. I'm just like, why do they take so long? I don't get it. But
I can't answer it because
yeah,
I'm somebody who's like, God damn it, give us more same asset sequels. Well, like, you know, we got Majora's Mask so fast after Ocarina of Time. Why can't this happen? But even the closest example that I can cite, which would have been God of War and then God of War Ragnarok, that was still about a 4-year gap. You know, so it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I find it weird that even indie games seem to take a long time now. You know, like, I mean, obviously Silk Song, I know that that's a different beast because you have a lot of handwritten illustrations and stuff like that. But, you know, Toby Fox with Deltarune, that game's still not done. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It takes someone smarter than me to figure that out. I think it's
more excusable, actually, honestly, for Toby. It's more excusable because he's a small operation. Like, like the fact that it takes Toby so long should put the magnifying glass even more harshly on Nintendo to be like, you have the resources that Toby doesn't. Why is this taking so long? You know?
Yeah, that's more I was getting at. It is weird that it's affecting the indie game space too, but at least the indie game stuff is usually more understandable. While Nintendo, it's like your Mario games are not that visually intensive. You're not like breaking new grounds with graphical innovations. And you know, you take a look at freaking the Mario sports game, the tennis one coming out, Aces 2 or I don't know what the heck it's called. Superstar, I think. I don't know.
It's Mario Tennis the Challengers Edition. It's going to be about Princess Peach and the complicated erotic relationship she has with Mario and Waluigi. Okay. And the score is going to rule. The score is going to rule.
Gotcha. That is Tom's fan canon, I believe is what the cool kids call it. Yeah, I didn't mean to stay on that topic forever. I was just make games quicker, maybe. I don't know. Or
how dare you steer your own podcast? How dare you apologize to me?
I know. Listen, Tom. Do you want to talk about some news? You want to cover some headlines?
Let's do it.
Yeah. So starting off, I've prepared just a couple of articles. The first one is from IGN, headlined "Nintendo of America President Doug Bowser announces his retirement. Devon Pritchard named as successor." Yeah, this is news that is no longer extremely hot news, but it is news nonetheless. Doug Bowser, who joined the company back in 2015, although apparently there's been claims that he's been with them longer, and I can't factually back that up because everything I look up says it was just 2015 from when he worked there.
Well, I mean,
so I don't know.
He's been king of the Koopa Kingdom for his whole life. So I mean, he's been around. He just took a while to get a corporate job.
Right. Fair enough. I also would like to mention that the subheader for the article says "So long, Bowser," and I've also heard other people saying like Mario has finally won or something like that. Yeah, it's interesting. When the Nintendo Switch launched, it obviously changed Nintendo for a lot of reasons, right? And it's hard to attribute all of Nintendo's changes over the last 10 years to Doug Bowser's inclusion, especially because, you know, it's just president of Nintendo America. We started this off by talking about different practices that Nintendo has been doing that has been common with other gaming companies in the industry. I wonder how much of that attributes to actual Doug Bowser, and I wonder if any of that will change now that we will have a new Nintendo America president. But I also know that, you know, Nintendo of Japan holds a lot of stakes in what happens globally, obviously. Yeah, I don't have much to add about this bit of news in particular. I just think there's they've really increased their levels of revenue streams. There's DLC for pretty much every game now, like it's almost expected, which is so different from Nintendo first being late to DLC, but even being a little bit more withholding with DLC in the Wii U era. So, and then of course they have all their subscriptions now, or one subscription that applies to so many different things, with virtual console games. That's not even called virtual console. We're so old. But Nintendo Music, various things inside their subscription that's really increasing their revenue. I wonder if any of that, if we're going to see a shift in any of that, or a shift in any of their current prices, which obviously have been scrutinized, given that Doug Bowser leaves. I just don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this one, or?
My initial thoughts are, corporate change. Okay, whatever. I don't know if he's retiring or if he's getting a bigger bag somewhere else. It's like, I have no strong feelings about Doug Bowser because outside of his name, he just seemed like a very good corporate hand. Just, I'm not going to call him a yes man or anything, but he showed up, he represented the brand, he was enthusiastic about it, and now he's leaving. And I think that whatever Devin Pritchard emerges as a presence is here's what I'm just going to say. Call this a prediction, call it a hot take, a statement, whatever. I think that once we understand what Devin Pritchard's public persona or relationship with the community is, that is basically going to signal what Nintendo is actually looking for in their future. Because you said they made so much money off of the Switch. They now have a foothold in more mainstream entertainment thanks to the success of the Mario movie, and we've got the Universal parks. I think Nintendo has entered an era where they are gonna play things very broadly, very safely, and that could be overall good, because if they do that while maintaining the quality of their products, I'm not gonna complain. But it is unfortunate to consider that we may never get somebody like Reggie Fils-Aimé, who was not only like a pillar of community outreach, but also seemed internally like he was willing to challenge the company, even, like just straight up say, this is a bad idea, don't do it. And from the stories that we know, the biggest one being you should pack Wii Sports in with the Wii. Like, that was revolutionary. Like, what an idea. And I don't know if Doug Bowser ever did anything like that. Maybe he'll write a memoir and reveal that he was like, hey, I was the one who said we have to get Banjo and Kazooie in Smash Brothers, and I pushed for it. And then I will mail him a thank you card for doing so. But if Devin Pritchard just emerges as a safe pair of hands to, guide us through Nintendo Directs, then I think that's just going to cement it. Like, that is Nintendo's future as a safe, public-facing brand that doesn't want to step on any toes. But maybe there'll be a Reggie and they'll say, why the hell didn't we pack the Switch 2 Welcome Tour in with the Switch? Why the hell did we charge $10 for this? Because Doug clearly didn't. But Reggie went on Twitter and was very like, this is a dumb idea, so
I did find it kind of funny that Reggie went on to immediately like, let me just pat myself on the back real quick publicly. I'm not going to say anything bad about the current president. I'm just going to be like, yeah, by the way, I fought for that Wii Sports thing, the thing that everyone loved and cherished. Yeah, that was me. I put it in your homes, which is just funny. It's interesting because Doug Bowser's been a very quiet president too. He does not put himself in the public limelight at all. And that was abnormal for Nintendo at the time, but that might just be the new normal. It's interesting. But
that's what I mean. Yes. Is that by personal design in that he or is that by corporate mandate? Like does Nintendo not want a Reggie anymore?
Yeah.
Or did Bowser just not have the kind of professional initiative to try to push that? That's what I said. We got to see with Devin. We have to see with Devin.
Right. The way I kind of picture the direction Nintendo is going, I know they had some management changes several years ago, and which is why a lot of this more opening up revenue streams was a big prominent thing for Nintendo for several years. Seems like Nintendo is taking this approach of this Disney approach almost, right? Of almost separating the creators from the work itself. in a way. And Nintendo's always done this to a certain extent. But, you know, just small things over time reappearing, like them not mentioning the composers in the Nintendo Music app, even retiring Charles Martinet, the voice actor for the Mario characters, and now not putting limelight on the successor. Things like that. It seems like they're trying to make IP more Mickey Mouse, you know, existent of itself, regardless of who creates it behind. They didn't even disclose who made who developed the Donkey Kong game, even though everyone knew. They didn't disclose it until, like, I think a week before the game came out or something like that. I think they're very much pushing into this idea of, like, well, Mario's just Mario. It doesn't matter all this other stuff behind it. Mario is IP. Mario is the face of our company, and whoever's behind it doesn't matter, because all of our IP has to be, like, corporate now, in a way. I feel like that's the direction they're kind of heading, because it seems like Nintendo likes the idea of being their hardware being Apple and their IP being Disney, and they want to be some kind of, like, mix of the two is what is the general vibes I've been getting from modern Nintendo. And like you said, theme parks, all this stuff that just bolsters this IP, movies, they want it to be an entity that exists beyond just a game. It is just the face of Mario now. And I think that's the direction they're heading. I don't know how much can be attributed to Doug Bowser for that. I'm maybe optimistic that a change in the American president might lead to some more favorable decisions being made for the Nintendo fans, possibly some price decreases as time goes on. Who knows?
Yes.
I know I looked at the Donkey Kong Bonanza DLC being $10 and was just kind of disgusted at it, especially given some of Nintendo's early fair DLC pricings in the Wii U era to early Switch era. Even, like, you look at the Smash Brothers DLC, I don't remember the exact cost of that, but the amount that you were getting for how much you were paying is just so different from this new approach that they're taking. So,
well, I specifically remember what Smash Brothers DLC was. It's usually been around $8 for an individual character, but they always sold passes, and they came in at $25. So $25 for the first battle pass got you, I believe, 5 characters. I believe it was Steve, Byleth, Banjo-Kazooie, Arms person, and I'm blanking on the fourth, on the fifth, but, you know, $25 for 5, or a little bit over 5, that, you know, in the non-bundle,
right?
You know, yeah.
It's also worth mentioning stages were added, Mii costumes. There was a lot of just smaller knickknacks. I mean, stages are still pretty big too. Smaller knickknacks that were added with it. And even then, I think we looked at it and we're like, this is a little bit pricey, but it was Smash Brothers. You're going to get so much content out of just one additional character, much less 5, right? Just through the nature of replayability. When I found out there was nothing to do on DK Island, I've never been, especially as someone who likes and remembers Donkey Kong 64 more than most, to see the island return and hear the DK Isles music being remastered from Donkey Kong 64, I was so excited. And then I heard there's also nothing inside the island. I'm like, okay, well, what's the point? Why are you showing this to me? But I guess that's not
is the roguelike mode worth it? Because I saw it's. I feel like the backlash to the Donkey Kong DLC has seemingly been more that DK Island isn't a proper level. Not like I've seen people say that the roguelike mode is actually very good. So in your opinion, is it worth $10?
No, I don't think so. Because here's the deal. I know we're both Donkey fans, and I think Donkey was complimenting it quite a bit, which
he did, yes.
I don't think Donkey's wrong often. But I'm not with him on this one. I think the gameplay looks a little bit too similar to the base gameplay already. It just feels like it literally feels like another coat of paint to the base gameplay, because it's faster paced and you have these time limits, but also, like, the gameplay itself is the exact same as what was in Nintendo, or what was in the base game, and without new scenery to justify a color code change, it just feels so lackluster to me, because you're already collecting gold and bananas, and you already have your own tech tree. All that the roguelike does is that it removes that tech tree and says do it again, except now you have time limits to do it. And I'm like, well, that's the same gameplay I already did. I was just playing at a slower pace earlier. So I'm not convinced with the Emerald Rush stuff, because like, I don't know, it's like like, do I really want to lose all my power-ups to do this roguelike thing? No, I don't think so. It doesn't sound enjoyable to me. But I don't know. I think also a big part of critique with the Donkey Kong Bonanza DLC is that it came out so soon after the original game. Many criticize it as like, there's no way that stuff wasn't ready at launch, and they just decided to not put it in the game.
Oh, like they cut it out of the game to upcharge
right.
you. Got it.
To upcharge $10 too. Not just like a little, here's a little $5 DLC or something. $10, effectively making it a $80 game, which, you know, still would be more reasonable than Mario Kart World, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But I think, I don't know. It's to me, just the level of disappointment mostly comes from the fact that DK Isles was so lackluster. And I was like, okay, then there's, because honestly, if there were more banana, if it was just like a whole new layer, because that's how they organize it, they have everything in layers. If it was like a new layer with new challenges, and they also added Emerald Pass, maybe I'd be like, okay, you know what, I can dig this. This ain't it, Chief. That it's just too little for too much in my head.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So Doug Bowser, get out of here. That's the point of what we're saying. We'll just, hopefully some good changes come out of this. Is basically it. Okay, we've got some other news to talk about. Another one is from mynintendonews.com. The headline reads, Final Fantasy director says game key cards aren't about cost, but about speed. So essentially the Final Fantasy remake director, the person who's been working on the remakes for Switch 2, which, by the way, he's been saying a lot of things publicly about how much he loves the Switch 2, which is kind of funny. He talks a lot about how impressive the system is in other articles and stuff. But in this one specifically, he's talking about game key cards and how they are the reason game key cards are approachable for game developers is because the speed of the cartridge itself cannot always match the speed requirements of the game, to where an SD card, especially one that is forced to be one of the higher end SD cards on the Switch 2, can just process things a lot quicker. So he's basically saying that it's a necessary evil, while I think he also recognizes that it's not ideal for consumers. I'm trying to find the exact quote. I found that interesting, and I was just curious how you felt about game cards in general, because I know they're relatively contentious. I know that you also enjoy collecting things to a certain extent, and I know you like physical media.
No, I don't like physical media. I love physical media. And the key cards exist at this awkward point of acknowledgement of what the Switch 2 is capable of, or in a more pointed way, is not capable of.
Right.
And, you know, I wonder if this is just like, if we're just back at the problem that, you know, small GameCube discs were, or N64 cartridges were. It's Nintendo wanting to do their own thing, but as we previously talked about, now they have to be a bigger brand.
Yeah.
But they've kind of shot themselves in the foot. I don't know. Like, inherently, no games that I care about at the moment have been released on these key cards, so it has not like raised my ire. And the justification for the Final Fantasy director, like, I get it on like a technical level and just a production level. You know, if you have to work as a filmmaker, sometimes you have to work with the tools that you have in front of you, and it may not be what you want, but what are you going to do? You're just going to quit, you know? And maybe that's a bit too idealistic for a consumer-based product. But at the moment, as to reiterate my point, there's no games that have been released on Game Card that I would consider deal breakers if I had a Switch 2.
Sure.
And these games are also games that are available elsewhere, and you will get a better experience. But let me devil's advocate my own argument. Say that there is a person who is only going to own a Switch 2, and they have no PC, they have no other consoles. This is all they're going to get. And so the argument should be, well, if I want to play the Final Fantasy remakes, why am I not entitled to a more comparable experience to what a PlayStation 5 owner might have?
Right.
That's a fair argument to make. And is Nintendo therefore hurting that customer base with this?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, because it's so complicated, because
It is.
I want physical media to last forever, but I can't be ignorant to the fact that we are moving towards an all digital future, and the game cards should at least be maybe considered a nice thing to have, whereas Nintendo could have just not set this up for anybody at all.
Right.
It doesn't have a simple answer. That's the thing. I don't want to risk rambling, because it doesn't have a simple answer.
And
because ultimately, sorry, I said I won't ramble, but I guess it just comes down to, if these didn't exist,
right,
the Switch 2 wouldn't get these games.
Right.
And what would be worse? What would people be complaining about worse? Would they be complaining about the Switch 2 can't handle Final Fantasy VII Remake, it's trash, or the Switch 2 can't handle it without the key cards, it's trash? Like, what's actually worse?
Yeah, it's tough, because I Switch 2 is not my only gaming system. I have a PC where I play most of my third-party stuff. Nintendo Switch 2 I have specifically for Nintendo games. So when I look at something like the game card, I'm like, okay, well, if you can't fit it on the system, why bother making a port? But that is a very narrow-minded take, because it's like, well, I wouldn't be the person who buys it anyway, because I have Final Fantasy VII Remake on PC. And it's also worth mentioning, like you said, the games that you want and the games that I want, they don't have game key cards, because Nintendo themselves are not doing the game card stuff on their own games, at least for now.
Yes.
At least for now. I'm very cautious that if that happens in the future, then I might feel more negatively towards it, because I feel like, oh gosh, if there's one thing that drives me crazy about Nintendo, it's when they don't know how to optimize for their own system, which they really, really should. And that was a problem that plagued a lot of first-party Nintendo Switch games. I think we were talking about way back when we were talking about the Mario Strikers game that came out that had visually not much going on at all, and yet it still tanked frame rate at times, and it was like, what is going on here? If Nintendo doesn't know how to optimize to their own system to where they need to make game key cards a thing for their own games, I'm going to be very disappointed in them. To read the direct quote, though, from the director, he says that it's an option. It's not that everyone has to use it, but it's another option to deliver the games to fans, and I think we could lose out on opportunities. There may be people, if we didn't have that option, who wouldn't get to play the game. So from a developer's perspective, it allows us to bring more high-end experiences to Switch players, and I think that's a good thing. And I think that's a reasonable take, especially from a developer's perspective. He also says, I really get where people are coming from in terms of their negativity towards it, and there are good reasons and debates to have out there. I would like to also mention that Nintendo has kind of their games have lasting legacies, right? We're still playing Nintendo games from 30 years ago, and 30 years from now, people are going to be playing Nintendo games from right now, from current day. And with this game card system, obviously you need cloud storage in order to actually load the game onto systems. And the second those servers go down, which maybe, I don't know, to my understanding, like Wii Shop channel servers are still technically up for people who are re-downloading their old games. If I'm wrong, I'll cut that out. But I'm pretty sure that's how it is. They can keep this service up for a long time of still being able to download games from game key cards. What happens when that goes away? You're going to have a lot of half cartridges that just cannot be used, essentially penalizing those who purchased physical media for the very reasons that they wanted to buy physical media in the first place, which was that they want to have it forever, right? That's like the worrying part for me is just the long-term effect of having game key cards. The whole reason we want physical is so that we can keep them, so we're not bound by online servers. And
True.
That's like the worrying thing for me. What I was also immediately worried about, and right now it's sustained, but the idea of aftermarket, right? Reselling these game key cards. When it was first announced, I was like, is that going to just kill the aftermarket? Because are you going to be able to download it after it's already been downloaded once? Currently, yes, you still can. But at what point does Mr. Doug Bowser return to Nintendo and decide, hey, you know what? We're not doing that anymore, right? We're not going to allow you to download it twice or something like that. You just never know with this kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't love it. I don't love the idea of it. I also get that it increases third-party support for the system. It's just hard because that's never been my perspective of Nintendo. I've never been like, Nintendo needs more third-party. The company's success says something completely different. For the company's success, they need third-party, and I get that. So it's just a weird balancing thing. I just don't love. It just seems like a good solution for this would have been to have cartridges that run at the speed that they're talking about. Like having them run at modern gaming speed. If they want to be the console that houses all these third-party developers, that's the solution, is like make your system built to house all of them. But it's Nintendo. It's not really what they do. They're not,
right.
They're
and
not
then
known
that's
for
the
being
thing. Those cards cost more money. That'll get passed on to us, the buyer, and then the rage will be higher. So again, it's kind of it's like it's this again. There's no simple answer. And I'm not gonna yuck anybody's yum or act like I'm better than people and just be like, well, just don't buy it. Like, because that's not fair. What if what if you're only gonna have the Switch and you're a big Final Fantasy fan? I'm not gonna tell you, well, sucks to suck. That doesn't solve anything. So
yeah. It's not easy. I don't love it, and it also probably won't affect me for the time being because, like you said, Nintendo games, they don't have it on their own first party stuff. I really, really hope they never do, but luckily we're not there yet. Where we are currently is at the next headline. This is a pretty simple one, but a Mario Kart World Invitational has been scheduled in Japan, basically a tournament for Mario Kart World. This is just a small thing, but I figured it would be a good jumping off point for me to talk about Mario Kart World a little bit, because I have rented Mario Kart World, played it a decent amount, and I will say competitively, I see a lot of potential with Mario Kart World, not necessarily because of the gritty speed that we've seen in previous entries like Mario Kart Wii, but more so in the freedom of finding micro boosts pretty much anywhere. It really opens up so many different routes of actually completing the track. And if there's one thing that stood out to me positively about Mario Kart World, it's that when I'm playing, I'm like, wow, if I could get good at grinding on this to jump onto this thing to ride this wall, then I could really show some people up. I could show up little Tim and get him in, be miles ahead of him and win the race. But I of course am a casual Mario Kart player, so I'll never reach that. So I just found it interesting that they're going to have a invitational for it. We've seen invitationals for more competitive games in the past, like Splatoon obviously has a ton of them. Smash Brothers, when that was in its heyday, they had a lot of invitationals for that as well. So I think it's kind of interesting to see Mario Kart World get this invitational treatment. I don't know if they ever had an invitational for Mario Kart 8. If you remember something, you can correct me, but I believe this might be the first Mario Kart invitational that they've had. So I'm going to go out definitive.
I'm going to go and just definitively say, yeah, I believe this is the first.
Right.
Because like invitationals really started becoming a thing around the Wii U era with Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm confident saying this is the first.
Yeah. And I think it's exciting. What I'll also say is that I don't think Mario Kart World is going to be fun to watch from a competitive standpoint. Not that an invitational is purely so that people can watch it, but I do think that is an important part of competitive Mario Kart. And I guess I'll just say, after playing Mario Kart, my definitive opinion on it is that because Mario Kart 8 exists, it's just so painfully okay of a game. Like, I almost wish there was more stuff wrong with it just to make it interesting, which is not a good consumer mindset. But I don't know. When I play it, and I know you said you've mentioned that you've played it for a handful of hours, so I'd love to hear your take on it too. But from my experience, it does feel a lot like Mario Kart 8 again to me, with just some small tweaks that only affect people who are not casual players like myself. So things like riding on walls, grinding, all cool. That without me optimizing that to an nth degree, it does not change my experience like whatsoever. In fact, I would also go as far as to say that having all the tracks being grounded in this bigger world inherently makes them less visually stimulating than previous Mario Kart games. Not to a point to where I say the tracks are all bad or anything. There's definitely some charming tracks in there. And it's just interesting that some of the tracks that have returned from Mario Kart 8, which had a large pool of options, you can notice that they're visually tamed because they have to be grounded within the world. You no longer have the freedom of crazy environments around you. It has to be physical environments that you can actually interact with. So I think in a weird way, they shot themselves a little bit in the foot in with regards to just making their tracks interesting. So as for what that has to do with the Invitational, I don't know. I just think when I think of competitive Mario Kart, World seems the potential I see is with the actual micro boosting mechanics, not necessarily tracks themselves, as a lot of people have criticized the, straight intermission tracks and stuff like that, which honestly, it just feels the same to me. Like having intermission tracks does not change my experience that much, which maybe makes you ask why do they need to be there in the first place. But Tom, just in general, I would love to hear about how your experience with just a couple of hours of Mario Kart was.
Yeah, sure. I like it. The problem is Mario Kart 8 is the best Mario Kart. It is not just the best, it's the most Mario Kart. You get everything. We were spoiled rotten. It's honestly like the problem that's going to face the next Smash Brothers, in that you got everything. So now where do you go? Yeah. And in ways, I know that they're like, for Mario Kart World, the open world exploration is the big gimmick. And it's, I liked what I played, but I haven't, combed the entire map. But the people who have were like, it's fine, but it just wasn't enough. And it's like, okay, I can respect that. But that's I guess what we're learning is like the monkey's paw of we figured out something that will differentiate this from 8 and let it be its own thing. Good, but it wasn't enough, apparently, for a lot of people. And what I was going to say in regards to the Invitational is I'm going to echo something you said. Mario Kart is not something that I could see myself wanting to sit down in an arena and watch. I can watch people play Mario Kart together on one screen at a party while I'm waiting for my turn. That's fine. But it's one of those things where it's like, well, who do I watch? And how do are the big screens going to show like only the person in first? Are they going to cut between people? It reminds me of when competitive professional Overwatch was a thing. I never understood how what I was supposed to be getting out of watching it, because you have these big overhead cameras covering a smattering of action that's just too chaotic in a way. Right. Yeah. And so with this, it's like, even though Mario Kart World's gimmick of having technically long singular courses might make it a little bit easier to watch, because you're just only getting progressive movement, we're all moving in one direction. Who's at the head? Right. And I know I probably sound like an idiot, because real world racing exists, sure. So, and people have a fine time watching that, but that's different from Mario Kart in that you're not missing moments of drama. Jeff Gordon, we never had to worry about Jeff Gordon getting red shelled. You know what I mean? Sure. During NASCAR. So it's like, you might miss moments of entertaining chaos in a Mario Kart race like this. Yeah. So yeah, basically my point is, it's not something I could see myself wanting to voluntarily attend. Yeah. But knockout mode is the best thing to happen to Mario Kart possibly ever. It is such a good mode, and it maybe all we actually needed was knockout mode to be added to Mario Kart 8. I don't know, but I think from a gameplay standpoint, you mentioned the intermission tracks and how they don't do anything for you. I agree that they don't do anything, because within the Grand Prix mode, you get you have to transition into the intermission tracks. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you won the race. Here's your point standing. Get ready to go next. Oh, it's an intermission track. Yeah. Knockout mode, in my opinion, does the intermission tracks right, because you're constantly moving through them. Yeah, they suck with they suck with build up. They work with not constant movement. Yeah. So Invitational, Mario Kart World, positive, that's all I got.
No, I agree. I think knockout mode is probably the coolest thing that Mario Kart World had added. I don't think I was necessarily blown away by it, but I can appreciate the thrill of being knocked out. I did attempt it with local multiplayer, and one thing we quickly noticed is, if you're out, you got to wait a lot. Like there's a lot of downtime for people who get knocked out. So I think it's one of those things that actually aids online better than local multiplayer, because when you're out on online, you just queue up for the next match, similar to other battle royale games. That's why Fortnite is so popular. Because this is essentially Mario Kart's take on a battle royale, which sounds weird, but it's kind of what it's going for.
Yeah, definitively.
Right.
Definitively.
So I can appreciate battle royale mostly from an online perspective. Mario Kart's always been more of a local game for me, though, and I think that's why I've had difficulty connecting to modern Mario Karts as much as other people. It seems like the online scene is what keeps a lot of people coming back. Or when I see people complaining about online lobbies not being able to do 3-lap courses and stuff, and I'm like, I bet that would suck if I played online, but because I don't really play online, I don't really care. But no, I can appreciate where they're coming from. With not just Nintendo should just let people choose, basically. But yeah, I think Knockout Mode was the coolest thing. I think the biggest missed opportunity is free roam. Especially here's the deal, guys. For those who don't know, you cannot play free roam locally. You cannot do local multiplayer free roam, which is a huge killer. Talking about Kirby Air Ride, another topical game now that a sequel's coming out. Kirby Air Ride had a free run mode back on the GameCube, and my siblings and I would get lost in that for hours, doing quite close to nothing. Like, I can appreciate the standpoint of a big world you drive around, even if there's nothing to do, because I did it as a kid. And while I wouldn't spend much time as an adult in a free roam world, I definitely would spend much more time if I could actually do it with people in my house. That was probably the biggest baffling thing to me, because as soon as local multiplayer is out of the picture, I'm like, what is the point? Why am I here in Mario Kart? I understand a lot of other people have single player attachments to Mario Kart, and kudos to them. They love their DS mission modes, as repetitive and kind of crappy they are. That's my hot take, I guess. Fair enough. Go off. But yeah, I think other than knockout mode, everything that Mario Kart World has introduced has been rather lackluster, especially when I'm just ready for not Mario Kart 8 gameplay. I'm ready for them to shake up, less accessible, not in terms of, like disabilities, but less accessible in terms of difficulty and learning curves. I'm ready for them to kind of get back to some old grit that they used to play around with. That is a minority take, I think. I don't think other people are looking for that. So whatever. It's okay. It's an okay game. Tom, I think that is just about all the time we have for news. I guess the last thing I wanted to mention is that there is another article on mynintendonews.com. Mario Kart World remains unbeatable at number 1. This was on September 25th. Specifically in Japan. I forgot to read the first word of that headline. It's Japan, Mario Kart World remains unbeatable at number 1. So this, I just thought it was interesting that they're doing an invitational in Japan, and that's because it turns out that the game is still selling incredibly well in Japan specifically, while people seem to be citing that the sales have been dropping significantly in America. I have not confirmed this for myself. Part of me suspects that's just because, well, people bought it with the console, and we're not buying consoles over and over again, so you'd expect sales to dip.
Yeah.
But in Japan, apparently sales are not dipping. It still is the top sold game over there. So it makes sense for why they are hosting an invitational in Japan. Kudos to them for enjoying the game so much.
Well, I mean, I don't want to get political, but I mean, what's Japan's economy like compared to ours?
Right.
And they don't have to ship Mario Kart World anywhere and pay tariffs on pay like the kind of technology and electronics tariffs. They can just buy it because maybe I'm being a little ignorant. I don't believe anything's manufactured in Japan. But if things are manufactured at Nintendo's plants in Vietnam, I don't think that Japan. I don't know if Japan has the kind of harsh tariffs with Vietnam that we're doing.
Yeah,
so
I would take a wild guess and say that they don't. Is my wild guess.
People are, and the thing is, I think it's a rush just to have something to say in this day and age where everybody has to be talking at all times, that people go, oh, Mario Kart World's not selling as good anymore. It's a flop. It's bad. Oh my God, Nintendo crashed out. It's so over. But it's like Mario Kart 8 became the top selling Switch game of all time progressively because it was frequently bundled with Switch consoles during holidays, during special editions, and the booster course pass brought people back to it. we haven't gotten the first, and even the first hint of when World might get DLC, and I think it will get DLC. So it's like,
right.
I think it's too early to say anything definitive about the success or failure of World, but people just want to, you know,
they're unhappy with their experience of the game, and they immediately want to point towards some repercussion that's happening because of their distaste towards it. But people are not refusing to buy the game because they changed one system in the online settings because of one update. That's just not how it works, right? And everyone who wants a Switch 2 within the first year, just about all of them already have it, I think. And like you said it earlier during this podcast, the fears of it like going up in price because of this tariff situation. I think a lot of people feel like, okay, I kind of got to get it now before it goes up, right? Which means Mario Kart World sales are naturally going to go down. It's not because of a random update. It's it came with the console too. Like it's the console seller. It's the like people are buying. If you're buying Mario Kart World, you bought it with the console. Like there's no other reason to pay $80 for it. In fact,
it's a good deal. It's a great deal.
Right.
Besides the fact that you don't physically own it, it's still, it's $30 off. So why not? Yeah.
Despite the fact that you don't physically own it, gosh. Every time there's like a little positive about the pricing structure, you remind me of something else that I'm like, oh my gosh. But I can't complain. I didn't buy the game anyway. So that's gonna do it for us for the most part. That's it for our news. I guess the last thing I wanted to ask is, are there any upcoming games that you are upcoming Nintendo games specifically that you are excited about? I know we've had some announcements. I know you don't have a Switch 2 yet, but if you were to get a Switch 2, are there any games that really pique your interest that have been announced?
Pokemon Z to A, or Pokemon ZA,
Really?
or Pokemon ZA.
Okay.
That's I was a big fan of Legends Arceus, but I just felt like it had some rough edges, and everything I'm seeing about this one seems like they have shaved those rough edges off while also adding some exciting new battle mechanics that are going to potentially like refresh something I've always enjoyed. So that is probably my most anticipated at the moment, and it's not locked to the Switch 2. So I don't know, maybe I'll cave and buy the Switch 1 version, and then just pay the $10. Who knows? Well, we will see. But that's mine. How about you?
Well, first of all, I find it interesting. I did not really know that you were like a Pokemon fan, and I feel like I should have known this. Perhaps this is a sign of distrust towards us, or discourse that needs to be resolved. Just because I feel like I should have known that, and I'm a little bit hurt. But no, that's fair. I'm glad you're excited for it. The only take I have on modern Pokemon, because I'm not a Pokemon guy so much, is that I'm like, why are these games so ugly? But I understand that's that's Pokemon fans' battle to fight.
They can't beat those charges. They can't beat those charges.
Right.
I'll be fair with that.
I remember looking at like all the sprite works and stuff in like the DS era, and I'm like, I never thought these games looked bad. And then looking at this modern stuff, I'm like, what's going on over at Pokemon? I've been out of the scene, but what's going on over there? Why do they look so bad? But that's, I'm not going to trash on a series I don't even play. So, yeah, I'm excited. Obviously, Metroid Prime 4. I've been excited since 2017. Of course. The excitement's never gone away. There's been some discourse surrounding the latest trailer as it showed off some mechanics that are foreign to the Metroid Prime formula. I am cautiously optimistic that this is not as big as a deal as people are making it out to be. A motorcycle was shown. I think this is going to be a small portion of the game. I don't think it's going to change most of the Prime experience. But yeah, if you have something to add, please.
No, you are the Metroid Prime guy in my life, and I did want to hear. Please go off about the potential open world, or at least like open zone. What do you think? Well,
so I totally understand where the concern's coming from, because Metroid, not just in Metroid Prime, but even in Metroid games, has always done best in confined, ultra detailed areas, right? That's just what Metroid is known for, and they excel. Sure. So when we see a shot of a vast desert that does not have the level of detail that we're used to seeing in Metroid, or the level of interest, I think it's understandable to feel a little bit skeptical of it. I also think a lot back to Metroid Prime 3, which was so long ago at this point. But in Metroid Prime 3, they did have the Samus's gunship that kind of acted as a point of transportation between worlds. it was more or less a glorified cutscene. And there were times where I'd be like, I can't believe I got to sit through this glorified cutscene and interact with buttons on the ship. And it was so unnecessary. Maybe a motorcycle to transport you to different places is going to be a better vehicle for that. Maybe the motorcycle sections are going to be fun. I mean, they were showing Samus shooting some things on motorcycles, so I guess that's cool. The thing is, though, is we've already seen shots of other traditional style Metroid Prime rooms to the point where I'm like, okay, they haven't lost their sense. There's still Metroid Prime in here, and up to that motorcycle shot, we've been seeing that. Other people have also argued that Metroid has been dealt a bad hand of trailers, that the trailers themselves are not showcasing what's actually special about the game. And only after seeing those do I now kind of agree that, like, if you think back to other really good trailers done for anticipated games like Metroid Prime 4, you know, there's something that gets your blood pumping when they play it back and stuff. Metroid Prime 4 has not really had that, which is weird.
No, and even just to agree with your point, look at the marketing rollout and the trailers we got for Metroid Dread. That game,
oh my gosh,
had its atmosphere and its unique mechanics completely set up in release. There is a degree of I can see what you're saying about the worry about how candid they're being. Like, if this open world component for Metroid Prime 4 is the big new get, why hasn't there been a Nintendo Direct explaining it? You know what I mean? Like,
that is the most baffling thing, by the way. Can we just talk about Kirby Air Ride getting 2 directs that are 45 minutes long, and we got nothing for Metroid Prime? That is wild.
And I've heard rumblings over the years that Metroid is actually, or at one point Metroid was one of those franchises that Nintendo didn't personally love.
Yeah.
But it was like, well, the Americans like it enough. But when Prime, maybe we attribute it to Prime, maybe we attribute it to Super, I don't know. But it finally did hit a certain point of acclaim and sales that Nintendo was like, okay, we will keep giving this a chance. But I don't know, maybe Nintendo is so pissed off about the 8-year development cycle with this, and so pissed off about how everything went down.
It could just be petty.
They're just shoveling this out It's like, who knows?
Yeah,
who knows?
Maybe
we're gonna find out in December.
Some article was saying that there was a report that Metroid Prime 4's development was costing what was it, upwards of $100 million of development. Which is insane, and maybe they're just like, why spend more money on marketing? Like, let's just get the game out. And especially when you look at the difference in sales between Metroid and pretty much any other of the top dogs of Nintendo IP, other than Star Fox, rest in peace. The Metroid does not show up in terms of how much it costs to make the game versus how much they make in return, right? Obviously,
sure.
This new Tennis Mario game gonna probably sell decently well, and the development cost is going to be way lower than it takes to make a Metroid game. So it's understandable for them to have disdain. It's just from a fan's perspective, it's like, dog, since 2017, you got to show us something to get excited about. A lot of people compare to one of the greatest trailers of all time, Breath of the Wild's initial announcement at the Nintendo showcase back in 2017. Just the chills you get when you watch that trailer at the end of the presentation. I would love something like that for Metroid Prime 4, but alas, they're not doing a good job at showing it. Some people also said that it's because of this. There's all these rumors going around about a really tough developer problem, or a programming problem going on with Metroid Prime that has delayed its release. And some people are suspecting that the reason Nintendo's been kind of quiet on the game is because they weren't sure if they were going to have to end up delaying it, which now they've finally released the actual release date, which is great. That's all speculative. We don't know if that's true. Either way, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm honestly not expecting Metroid Prime to return to the super highs of Metroid Prime 1 and 2, which I think are just pantheon games, right? I'm expecting a modern take that's going to do some new and interesting things that some people are going to love more than older style, and then it's going to lose a little bit of what Metroid Prime has done before, as is natural with games evolving within their series. That's to be expected. Nothing stays the same forever.
Exactly.
I am not expecting slop. I'm not expecting it to be just a nothing game. I'm not expecting it to be a game that is carelessly crafted, which is why when I see a motorcycle shot, I'm like, all right, this might be just for the new kids, but I bet it's not going to take over the game, and I bet it's not going to be an overall hindrance to the experience. That's my
well. At least you're mature enough to have those measured expectations, because I guarantee we will be drowning in think pieces in December about why Metroid Prime 4 wasn't worth the wait, and why it proves that Nintendo is doomed, and why we're gonna. I appreciate also. I just want to tell you, I appreciate that this podcast. Not to pat myself on the back for being on like the pilot, but I'm excited to see where you take this, because it seems like you've built something that is open. It's going to be good for good conversations with not cynical, not a cynical end. I think what you got here has potential, Pat. Really.
Thank you. That's a great way for me to segue into actually closing this thing up, because we've done it. We have done it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see if an episode 2 comes out at some point. And I appreciate Thom Peeler being here and joining me to talk about various headlines as well as games we've been playing. Thom, thank you. And for all of you out there who want to check out Thom, where can they find you, buddy?
I'll just search Sycamore Street Studios on YouTube. And I also am going to leverage. I have been producing a workplace sitcom set in a movie theater. Big community vibes. If you need kind of a comparison, the great sketch comedian Jaya Peck developed the show over a decade, and in the past year we've been working together with a great cast and crew to bring it to life. It's called Popcorn Pushers. Search that on your socials. Search that on YouTube. It will be premiering. We're going to have a little public screening in the Emmaus, Pennsylvania, East Coast United States area on Saturday, November 8th, if this gets out before that, or you can just cut this completely. And then it's going to be dropping online in early 2026.
Wow, that is great. First time I'm hearing about this, so I'm for one excited, and you guys should be too. Make sure you check out Thom's work. And that's awesome, dude. I'm really glad to hear that.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, and of course you can check out both of us in Bracket Breakdown on the Pat Nat Games YouTube channel. It is currently within its Wii game season, where we talk about and debate the best Nintendo Wii games on a tournament bracket. It gets heated, it gets fun, it gets nuanced, and it's a great time. So you guys should definitely check that out. And that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe for more podcasts, or follow, or whatever you do on the platform that you're listening to this on. And I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. So thank you, goodbye, and so long.